Hi, Dr. Amanda Sturk here. So glad that you can join me today. I just got done with a college boot camp that I was doing for from my community, and it was a lot of fun. And one of the things that I really realized that a lot of students don't understand, and parents especially, so hence why I'm making this video tonight, is really something called the Recalculated GPA. So we understand that universities in general use the GPA. So what grades you got in high school is one of the big indicators if you're going to be successful in college. And so we obviously know that an A is much better than an F or a D. And so, a lot of parents just think, if you're getting good grades, everything is going great and you'll do well, which is somewhat true. But there is something that a lot of parents don't know, and students too, is something called a recalculated GPA. Basically, what universities actually do with your grade point average that you don't know about. So we're going to start today on the unmaze.me website, and we're just going to go right under the college resources, because that is where I put all the links to the articles that I have made for you guys. So that way you can just kind of hopefully search pretty quickly. So I have college terminology, which is really great. If you're really starting the process, it gives you a great idea on some of the terminology that you need. And then I have it divided by kind of, pre the admission process, like 9th or 11th grade, what you need to know. And then you have like 12th grade, financial aid, scholarships, Ivy League schools, that type of stuff. So we're going to go down here, or up here, I guess, to what high schoolers should know. And we're going to go to why your recalculated GPA is important to know. So click on that. And that's going to come up here. And you see I have two tabs, actually. Let's close one down. So we're going to just talk about this. And so hopefully it gives you a better understanding what you need to do to make yourself more competitive in the college admission process. And so whether you're a 9th grader or a 10th grader, obviously if you're in one of those grades, you're going to have a lot more ability to kind of steer this GPA to this area. If you're a junior or senior, it's going to give you a much better idea on where you should be picking your classes and exactly how you compete or compare to other university students that are going to that school. So click on here. So obviously there's several different things you need to know about the GPA, some of the terminology to begin with. So the first one being unweighted GPA. So you're unweighted, and A is just an A, B is a B, C is a C. So usually it's like a 4-point system, like 4.0, 3.0, 2.0. Now, it doesn't matter if you're got an A in PE or an A in AP Calculus. An A would be an A. Now, my old school back in Iowa, they actually did this. So our valedictorian had a 4.0, but it didn't show him any different than other students who took the easier classes. A weighted GPA actually includes a little more weight because you took more rigorous courses. So what colleges do is sometimes even different than what a district or a state would do. So if you look at your transcript, you see the weighted GPA, and typically, like here in Lee County, it's like a 0.16, I believe they add on for courses like dual enrollment, AP, IB, ACE, AVID, that type of thing. And then they add like a 0.08 if it's an honors course. Colleges do something a little bit different. They actually give you a half point more if it's an honors course and a full point more if it's a college level course. And so what you're showing them is that you're able to take more rigorous courses in that area, in those different areas. So your academic core, now that's really important. So your academic core would include math, science, social studies, English, and the last one being foreign language. Okay, so here in the state of Florida, you actually need 2 years of foreign language to enter into a college. And if you've only had 2 years, they actually make you take the foreign language again or something different in college. So you really want 3 or 4 years if possible. And then they have something we call academic electives. So some universities will use like psychology, human geography, those type of things that necessarily don't go under your core courses per se, but are definitely academic in scope. And so again, kind of knowing if universities, what they use is really important. Do they include academic electives? So, and then you have straight up electives. So that could be fine art, such as like art, drawing, drama, music, some technology classes, business classes. Those would be generalized electives. Now here in Lee County, you have what we call your transcript, which is all your grades from if you had any high school credits in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. It's broken up by semester per grade. There's another form you should really request from your school counselor, which is something called an academic history. It's a nice one page, and it breaks it up per subject. So English is first, and I believe it's math, science, social studies, Hope or PE, fine arts, so forth. And foreign language is kind of embedded in your electives. So that gives you a much better understanding if you're getting B's and C's in those core classes versus the electives. You're definitely going to, I'm going to show you your recalculated GPA, what universities do, is not going to be what you think it is. Okay, so a few things to note. A lot of different states use different systems. You know, I told you how my former school didn't use weighted GPAs. Some I've even seen a 5.0 or a 3.0. Some use letters and different things. So that's why you will find a lot of universities will ask for you to actually put your grades into like a system. Like you actually have to type in what you got. And what they do is they recalculate it for everybody based on exactly what they're looking for. And so that's just to kind of normal or equalize it for everybody. And so some of the things you have to look at, so here you're talking about colleges look at and use courses differently in recalculating the GPA. You know, some, like I was mentioning, only really look at the academic core. So that's such as University of Florida. If you look at their requirements, they only look at academic core. So if you had a bunch of A's in your electives, but then again, all your core classes or B's and C's, the GPA that you think you have is actually going to be lower. Now, if you failed a bunch of classes, but you got an A in AP Calc, that's going to raise some flags too, even though it might not show them the transcript is like, oh, it's an elective, it doesn't matter. Well, it's still going to show up on your transcript, and they're going to be like, why did you fail that class? So you definitely still have to make sure that you do well in all classes, but especially in those core classes. So we're going to kind of go down here a little bit, and I'm going to actually show you how this pans out. So for example, we have student number 1, okay? So this student here earned 2 B's, 3 A's, and a C. So they have an unweighted GPA at a 3.3. You just add them up, divide by 6, and that's the GPA. And then we added the extra full point weight for the AP course. Psychology is not weighted because it wasn't an honors or an AP course. Weightlifting, you got an A, pottery, they got an A. And in statistics, honor statistics, even though they got a C, they got a 2.5. So this is their weighted GPA. Well, your recalculated GPA, again, you take the extra weight, but you throw out those 2 A's, and you can see their recalculated actually went down. Okay, and then they have the possibility of 3 college credits. So now let's check this one out. This student did not have any honors. They did take pre-calc. And they're taking all the courses that their school counselor probably told them to do. You need to take English, you need to take a math, you need to take economics, and like just fill in the rest, fill in the other 4. So they got 2 B's, 3 A's, and a C, just like the other student did. You can see their unweighted was exactly the same. Okay, so I would be a little mad if I was this AP student going, I got the same grades, but I took 2 AP classes. So, and here they didn't, and they got the same GPA. So again, that's why weighted is so important. And here you can see they didn't get any extra weight. But when you actually recalculate it, by taking out the 2 A's, they actually went down below what their unweighted GPA and weighted GPA was. Okay, and then they obviously didn't earn any credits. So definitely not as well. So again, they're going to think they're a little bit more inflated than what they are. So this third student is a student who does full-time dual enrollment, and because that's what I do at my school, definitely have to put them in there. They didn't have a 6th class because our kids only take up to 5 classes. So this is just an example. So they got 2 B's and 3 A's. So here's their unweighted GPA, a little bit higher because they don't have that C on there. Their weighted GPA, because everything is weighted, they were at a 4.6. And because they basically took all core, then what ends up happening is they kept that 4.6. And then they got the 16 credits of college credits. So when you're looking at, oh, hey, I took AP classes, look at that. They're almost a full point higher just for doing the dual enrollment, and they get those 16 credits. So you can scroll down here. So I do want to show you an example of how this works. So I have written a little bit more about this and done another video about the USF and their chart, but I really like it, and I think it gives a good idea of what's going on. So if you go to the USF website and just type in counselor, and you can see this parents and counselor overview. I love this chart. It's like one of my favorite things I like to show parents. You can go under school counselors, and under here, go to your initial eligibility requirements. And you should get, hanging out, there we go. We should get this nice little PDF. Again, it shows that their GPAs and what they've been accepting has increased really every year since for the last several years. So what used to be down here, 3.91 is now 4.08. Now again, if you're going off of unweighted, well, nobody would get above a 4.0 because it's straight A's. So we know automatically that this is not an unweighted. This is actually using a recalculated. So what's really important is you can read some of this information, but this is their guaranteed admissions because they are what we call competitive admissions. They don't have an essay, and so they're just looking at grades, ACT, SAT scores, and that's about it. So they're looking at that, and they're looking at your core sequence. This here, so you need to go in not with the GPA. So let's say I go back to this person and be like, oh, I have a 3.3. No, you actually have a 3.0. So if you go down to 3.0, you're not even making the chart. Okay, so you better have a really good ACT or SAT score. And if you're getting at a 22 at less than a 3.0, you actually, all the way up here to 26, this gray area, you're not guaranteed admissions into the University of South Florida. So you would actually need to be doing other things, like maybe taking other courses, or maybe there's some other academic eligibility stuff here I'll show you. So you can see a student with, scroll down, we'll scroll up to 3.625. Then we had the 4.6. Well, you look at a 3.65, you're definitely doing much better than what you have. Okay, so I'm hearing my daughter chit-chatting in the back. You know how that goes. So, and as I have my pink water cup, I'm okay with it. When you're a parent, you just learn to whatever cups are available and clean, right? So I'm going to go one step back here because I did want to show you those other. And this is cool. And like I said, I like this because they really talk about how they make their decisions and what they do. But here's some other admission factors. So kind of determining where am I at in this. This is another thing that they look at. Is your grade trend going up? Have you had really tough courses? Have you done any dual enrollment courses and done well in them? And if all else fails, one of the things that you might want to do is really look at writing a letter or a personal statement, getting a letter of recommendation. And then also maybe you have some other factors, your first generation, your family educational background, and so forth. So it's definitely good to ask your school counselor to basically give you your transcript and academic history. I would definitely ask for those two things. And especially the academic history, I would basically just block out the elective sheets and kind of figure out where are you really at. And like I said, pretty much all in the state of Florida, that's what you're going to be finding. So I hope that was really helpful for you guys, and hopefully maybe understood your GPA a little bit more and what universities look for. Again, Dr. Amanda Stirk, be sure that you're checking out my website, unmaze.me. There's tons of information. Obviously, you're on YouTube, but I have Facebook. I have LinkedIn, I have Pinterest, I have Twitter. You can always email me if you have a question, especially if you have an idea of something that you want me to talk about. I would love to hear from all of you. So great to be with you guys this evening. Again, talk to you soon and see you later.